When Winston Churchill said that all men make mistakes, but only wise men learn from their mistakes, he surely wasn't talking about authority figures in Pakistan. This year's devastation caused by floods in Sindh and also parts of Balochistan is a proof of that. And talking in terms of figures, in Sindh, 32,000 villages are underwater. 1.35 million houses are damaged. 8.2 million people have suffered in as many ways as you can imagine, and 345 people have died. 4 districts in Balochistan are also affected. What is sad is that no lessons apparently were learned from the historic floods of last year, and a 3-member Supreme Court bench has shown dissatisfaction over Sindh Irrigation Department's flood assessment report. Pakistan has once again been looking towards the international friends for their help in this disaster again. Rains were heavy, no doubt, but why wasn't flooding prevented? That's one of the first questions that pop up when you begin to talk about this year's floods. And tonight on Witness with Quatrina, floods and related issues will be the focus. Filling in for Quatrina Hosain, I'm Vikas Rafiq. And to take part in the program, today we have with us in the Islamabad studios Mr. Luigi Damiani, who's with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. He's also Senior Coordinator, Emergency Relief and Rehabilitation. Good evening, Mr. Damiani, and welcome to Witness. And with him, again in the Islamabad studios, is Mr. Paulsson, who is the Head Program of WFP Pakistan. Mr. Paulsson, thank you and good evening to you as well. And also, I'm being joined from Interior Sindh by Quatrina Hosain. She's, of course, a veteran journalist and is host of this program, Witness with Quatrina. She's been reporting from the flooded areas of Sindh, and I'm sure is brimming with lots of questions, and she will, of course, be able to ask those questions tonight in the program. Welcome, Quatrina, and nice to have you in this program tonight. And it was a moving episode from the flood-affected areas that you sent to us. We'll, of course, be talking about that. But first, my question to Mr. Damiani. There has been immense loss of not only land but livestock, which is expensive to recover. This was the statement that you had made when floods had stricken Pakistan last year. And this year, the United Nations has called for $357 million in relief money for the next 3 months. I'm just curious to find out in the beginning, what if this money is not received? What is in store then for the flood-affected people?
Yeah, good evening. What United Nations did is what we call launched an appeal, a flash appeal, for requesting practically the community of donors to put money, to send money to implement the projects which are included in the appeal. Having asked the money doesn't mean that we are receiving the money. It is a pledge, and we hope that the donor will have attention for our appeal and will be convinced by our figures, by the situation in the field, and then release the necessary funding. Out of the appeal, about 150-60 millions is for food security cluster, which components are food aid and agriculture. Agriculture in this is about 18.9, almost 19 million.
Right. Okay, and Mr. Paulsson, my question to you, what is your assessment of the challenge that we face here in Pakistan after these floods in Sindh this year? Of course, comparing them with what had happened last year.
Now, of course, the focus this year is Balochistan and Sindh alone. So overall Pakistan needs were of course larger last year. But comparing for Sindh, the magnitude of the people affected is just as great as last year. And it is a major challenge. I mean, we stepped up to the challenge last year. The World Food Programme and its past partners assisted some 2.6 million people in October last year. And we intend to reach some 2.2 million this year in October. and already we started our distributions over a week ago. But it is. We did it last year, and we must do it again this year. But it is a major challenge.
All right, and we'll talk about the distribution effort. There are some issues with that, it appears. Quatrina, major floods that struck this region, that is, of course, interior Sindh, were back in 1988. Would you still say that the floods of this year could have been prevented? Because there's lots of talk going on that these floods shouldn't have occurred. And in your episode that you sent to us from there on Monday, we did see that you said that the sad thing is that these floods could have been prevented.
Well, because that's what people here told me, that these floods could have been, if not prevented entirely, then definitely minimized compared to what has happened over here. Without going into too much detail, the basic problem has been that human encroachment after 1988 has been responsible for the bulk of the problems this year. And one of the problems that we face over here now is that the water has no place to go. Whether when you talk from Sankar, Nawabshah, Sankar, and moving south towards Umarkot, I'm in Umarkot tonight, and Mirpur Khas, and then Badin. This is a natural flow from north to south, and right now what we are seeing is that they are going to have to breach several different parts and drain them, but this has to be done with some kind of plan in mind. You can't just take water and release it from one district into another without arranging for the next district to pick up the slack, because then what you'll have is the multiple agonies multiplied again. And that is what is the concern right now. For example, today, two things that have alarmed me terribly. First of all, the first confirmed case of dengue fever has been reported from Umarkot. In a village in Kundri, a confirmed case of dengue fever. Now that is a potential epidemic waiting to happen, given the fact that the water levels everywhere in Sindh is massive. And that could lead to, if not an epidemic, even a pandemic, if action is not taken fast enough. The second alarming thing that I was told was that several industrial concerns and units, to protect their properties and their lands, have breached roads and other parts to drain the water out of their industrial and commercial concerns, which has led to contaminated water flowing into the natural waterways and the natural water table of Sindh. That is going to be an unmitigated disaster. We also know for a fact that contaminants from Sankar have been released into the water table here in Umarkot. And because yesterday I tasted the water that people are having to drink over here, and it was absolutely disastrous. It was brackish, it was salty, and worse than that, it smelled. And that is what people here are drinking. And the death toll is likely to rise if people are not given access to clean water on a war footing.
Right. Another important development of today, of course, Quatrina, we will be touching upon so many real issues that you are pointing out in your reply. But a three-member Supreme Court bench has shown dissatisfaction over Sindh Irrigation Department's flood assessment report and has ordered its revision. So that does indicate in a way that no lessons were learned from last year.
I would totally agree with the Supreme Court's findings, because what we are discovering over here is that the natural waterways, the natural course of the water, because rain happens, it happens for centuries. The water has always flowed out towards the ocean. What has happened is because there have not been massive rains, in fact there has been drought in this part of the world for the past few years off and on, and many people will even remember that the river Indus itself had become very dry and you could literally walk across it. Well, the natural waterways now have people farming on them. People have actually built homes in them. And natural waterways and natural water courses have simply been encroached upon. And worse than that, the irrigation department has not cleared or desilted these natural waterways since probably 1988.
Right. Mr. Paulsson, you're listening to what Quatrina is telling us, and I'm sure that you've been, your organization has been working on improving the capacity of the authorities such as the PDMA, the Provincial Disaster Management Authority. Are these issues the focus right now, or do you think that they've been ignored?
I mean, the immediate focus right now, of course, is on the immediate assistance to the people in need. However, over the last year, we have been working with the PDMA and NDMA to build capacity. Everything from weather stations to rescue equipment and other forms of assistance, warehouses, etc., that can be used in case there is an emergency.
Right. Right. And are you satisfied with the use of increased capacity in bodies such as the PDMA? You've given them a VSAT and there's a van that has also been provided. Do you think that's enough? That's enough for the immediate need?
I mean, I think we all have to recognize that these are incredible large floods. The one we had last year was certainly unprecedented, and this one is another extremely large disaster. Is it enough? There's probably more that can be done, but the focus right now has to be on the immediate assistance.
All right. And
can I jump in here for a minute?
Yeah, please. Go ahead, Quatrina.
Yes, I would like to ask Mr. Paulsson a question. Of course, he's absolutely right. These floods are unprecedented, different in nature, but unprecedented, no doubt. But Mr. Paulsson, my question to you, of course, is that my concern is I have been traveling now through Badin, Mirpur Khas, Umarkot, spending time here talking to the people, and the food aid is simply not arriving, not from the international organizations and not from anyone else. What is the holdup? Because in all honesty, people are starving.
No, you're absolutely right. People are desperate. Now, we were requested to start our assistance on the 6th of September. On the 12th of September, we started distribution in Badin. Since then, we have expanded to 5 districts, and as of today, distributed to some 150,000 people. Now, our plan for September is to reach 500,000, and then continue onwards to reaching over 2 million, 2.2 million when we reach into October. Now, this is a massive effort. It's quite a logistical challenge. It's a matter of getting the food, but also mobilizing our partner, but also, as Luigi said earlier, mobilizing the donors and getting the contributions and the money that is required to make the response happen.
Right. And I want to bring in Mr. Damiani on this issue because there's been lots of word about Mr. Damiani, how the aid is not reaching the stranded people. There are people who are on higher ground, but the aid is not reaching them. Do you agree to that?
Look, we have to assume one thing is a fact. The proportion of the catastrophe is very big, a very large number of people and animals, in my case, are in need. So you have agencies, and also sometimes in my case, livestock department and other agencies started working, but you cannot start everywhere. You for a matter of logistics and everything, you have to start from somewhere and then cover all the rest. It will be, of course, a progression. You have to put together the system. The first days is a little bit slower, but then we will increase. We'll reach the full capacity. Sure, it's not as fast as people are expecting. Like you say, they are starving. Their animals are starving. They are dying. So this is a fact, and we are all mobilized to avoid this, to reduce this. But still is happening. I have to admit it. Yes.
Yeah.
Is there a lack of? Yeah. Yes, Quatrina, continue.
Yeah,
please.
because I'm sorry, I can't help but interfere in your program, which I shouldn't. But one of the other things that I do have to share at this point to all our viewers who are listening is that we cannot depend on international aid agencies and international donors alone. It is great if they help us. We need their help, no doubt. But that does not absolve us, the citizens of Pakistan, from our responsibilities for helping out for the people in need. I am not seeing the mobilization of civil society this time. Perhaps part of the responsibility should be taken by us, the media. We were slow off the mark as well. And I think it's now time for people to also get together. After all, international aid organizations and donor agencies are international bureaucracies. We are here on the ground. We can do a lot, which I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing civil society here as much as they should be. I do not mean any disrespect to those people who are working over here. They are, but we need more.